And the more I've spoken about feminism, the more I have realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating.
Women's suffrage is about feminism, but feminism is about fairness.
The Violence Against Women Act is about to expire.
The right to learning should be given to every child.
Each of us here today has a story about how we first got engaged in this issue.
Hey, this happened to me. Oh wow, well this happened to me too.
American women are currently entitled to 12 weeks unpaid leave.
Gender inequality is an issue in every sector of America, from corporate to agriculture to Hollywood.
I think the Me Too movement is a good thing. I think women should speak up for themselves.
To be able to participate in the choices for their future and their
It didn't happen in the 70s.
Just for speaking the simple truth that girls should go to school.
Voices. They are all around us, in our schools, in our homes, and in our country. Voices willing to be heard about problems that should be addressed. Over the years, the definition of feminism has been understood with a negative connotation. That is wrong. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes.
So I didn't start my career in education. I was a business major, so I worked with mostly men on the various projects I worked on. I was pretty comfortable in that space, but there were times when I felt a little bit just outnumbered.
Got a degree in chemical engineering because I loved math and chemistry, and I was the second female engineer hired, and it was a Fortune 250 company, so a large company. And the thing I remember was trying to find the bathroom. Then there was the men's room. Couldn't find it, finally had to ask. Well, there was no women's bathroom.
The upside of Me Too, which is it exposes things that people had never talked about before, and what Me Too did is it allowed women to assert their experience and how common it actually was.
What I think the Me Too movement has done is that as I'm out meeting with people and running into people I know, I have had a number of men kind of putting their hands up and saying, is it okay to still give you a hug?
According to a Bloomberg article, the hashtag MeToo movement, a movement against sexual harassment and sexual assault, has actually pushed women back years.
The article is referring to the downside that men are feeling in that, oh, I don't want to get falsely accused, and so I'm not going to put myself in a situation with women. Men now talking about being uncomfortable being with women in a work setting alone because they have these worries. It's sort of the backlash to the Me Too movement.
You know, when I read the article, to me, it just showed a lack of actually professionalism in general.
Personally, I find that really offensive, because if women can manage to do those things, men should likewise be able to handle themselves and conduct themselves in such a way that they're not going to have to worry about being accused of anything.
The reason why the Me Too movement was started was to help women and men share their stories to make sure these atrocities committed against them would never happen again.
As a child, I was visiting some relatives, and it's kind of hard to say, but I was about between 8 and 9 years old, and I had an older cousin come into the space where I was sleeping at night and cover his body with mine. He was probably about 16 or 17, so much older and much bigger.
I was looking for my friend. Their neighbor, he was a 13-year-old boy, was there. And so he saw me getting in by myself. He came behind me. And then he said to me that my friend was hiding under the bed in that room. So he closed the door. I realized that something was wrong. I said, I want to get out. And then he said, can you just pull your knickers down?
I was in a room with a group of women. We had just completed our master's degrees. In the conversation, we found that of the 6 women in the room, 5 had had a similar experience, a Me Too experience. And that was shocking.
I do think that as a mother, I have 3 boys. I think that it's really important to understand that it's about being professional and respectful in every aspect of your life.
To be an American is to advocate change in your community or society as a whole. Like Susan B. Anthony advocating for women's voting rights. Like Martin Luther King Jr. advocating for civil rights. Even like you and me today, advocating for what we think is right.
Being an American means being involved and engaged and being open to everybody.
We're all equal. Doesn't matter what my race is, my gender, my gender preference.
Inclusion happens, community happens, and so to me, those are all things that are in my life every single day. It's a great place to be.